The world owes $320 trillion, 3 times more than all the money that actually exists. So here's the only question that matters. If every country is broke, who is collecting? The answer will make you look at your bank account differently for the rest of your life. You probably have some money sitting somewhere right now. A savings account, a pension fund, a 401k. Maybe just a checking account with whatever's left after rent. The IMF's 2024 Global Debt Monitor confirmed it. Global debt hit $320 trillion, up from just $80 trillion in the year 2000. That's a 300% increase in 24 years. And the Institute of International Finance says it's accelerating, adding roughly 100,000 every single second. Not because governments are reckless, because the entire modern financial system was engineered to require debt to function. Here's what nobody tells you about that money. The moment you deposited it, your bank didn't keep it. It lent it to governments. Your $1,000 in savings is right now sitting inside a government bond, earning interest paid by your own taxes, filtered back to you as a 0.5% annual return while inflation runs at 3%. You're not saving, you're slowly losing, while financing the same system that's making you lose. Here's how the loop actually works. In 1971, President Nixon took the US dollar off the gold standard. Before that moment, every dollar was backed by actual gold in Fort Knox. Governments couldn't print more than they had. Nixon removed the limit. One pen stroke changed everything. Money became a promise, not a possession. And once money is just a promise, governments can borrow infinitely. As long as people keep believing the promise, so they borrow, they spend. The economy grows. Tax revenue increases, they borrow more. The economy grows more. Everyone wins. But the loop breaks when economic growth finally slows. And here's where it gets circular. When growth slows, governments don't cut spending. They borrow to simulate growth. Lower interest rates, cheaper debt, more borrowing. The economy feels stable. Tax revenues recover. Debt gets bigger. Repeat. But here's the red flag nobody talks about. The interest payments themselves are now so large that in 2024, the United States spent more on debt interest. In 2024, that amount exceeded $1 trillion just in interest than on its entire military budget. Not building roads, not funding schools, just servicing the cost of old promises. And to pay that interest, they simply issue new debt. The snake eats its own tail, permanently. Think about what this looks like at ground level. In 2010, Greece ran out of road. Investors stopped buying Greek bonds. The money stopped flowing. Overnight, 1 in 4 government workers was fired. Wages dropped 30%. GDP shrank by 25% in 5 years. 200,000 young people left, engineers, doctors, graduates, boarding planes to Berlin and London, knowing they might never come back. And the punchline, Greece's debt didn't go down, it went up. Because when your economy collapses, tax revenues collapse with it, and you need more debt just to survive. Or look at Sri Lanka in 2022, couldn't afford fuel, couldn't afford medicine. Citizens stormed the presidential palace. It was a moment of absolute desperation. The country had borrowed billions from China to build a port it couldn't repay, so China took the port, a 99-year lease on sovereign land. Debt as infrastructure, infrastructure as leverage, leverage as colonialism, debt as a weapon of the modern age. Here's what happens when the system scales. In 2020, COVID shut the global economy down. Every government faced the same impossible choice: borrow unthinkable amounts or watch their economy collapse. The US borrowed $3.8 trillion in 1 year, nearly 20% of its entire GDP. And right now, 53 developing countries are struggling with debt. They are spending more on debt repayment now than on their own healthcare systems. They are paying foreign banks for their global debts instead of keeping their own people alive. Meanwhile, China has lent $1 trillion to 150 countries through its Belt and Road Initiative, ports, railways, and massive power plants. When those countries can't repay, China doesn't forgive the debt. It takes the asset to cover the loss. This is what debt imperialism looks like. You don't invade a country with weapons. You just lend them money they can't repay and wait for the final outcome. So here's the only question worth sitting with. The entire $320 trillion system runs on one thing: trust. The trust that governments will keep paying, that currencies will hold value, that the promise behind the number on your screen is backed by something real. China, Russia, India, Turkey, that they're all stockpiling gold right now. Not because gold is useful, because it's the one thing that exists outside the trust loop. So the question isn't whether the system will survive, it's what you're holding the day it decides not to.